Welcome to this special edition episode of the podcast to celebrate the launch of my book, You've Got This. Today, I'm joined by Mark Blundell, who was a Formula One racing driver and also won the Le Mans 24 Hour. I first heard Mark speak at Theo Paphitis' small business event, and he was just incredible. I just loved everything he was saying, so honest, so genuine. So I was so delighted when he said I could interview him for my book, and now I can share that interview with you. Now, Mark heads up MBP, which is a sporting marketing agency that works with the world's biggest and most notable brands with incredible talent to help achieve success through various different forms of partnerships, such as sponsorship, events, digital, and a whole lot more. I hope you love this podcast. I've loved recording it, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Enjoy. So take us back to how this started, because you've moved around slightly different careers, haven't you?
Yeah, so fundamentally career-wise, most of my career to a degree has been going around in circles. On a race circuit at a professional level as an international sports person. And then from there, gone into the world of media. So we did 7.5 years of terrestrial television, national TV live with ITV back around Formula One. I would also say on that journey, though, there's always been something commercial and there's been something in the background because I've always been a little bit worried about sport being quite fickle. And at the same time, anything can happen, accident, it could derail your career. So there's always been something that I've had in the background to fall back to. And as such, that's always made me a little bit more commercially minded as a sports person, looking at opportunities and trying to understand how I can put things together to make 2 and 2 hopefully add up to more than 4. But that's really where we've got to. And I guess, today's business in its current guise, the foundations of that are actually still centered around the management of talent, sports talent, predominantly motorsport orientated, so racing drivers per se. So we would have at least 10 drivers on our books currently. And that's kind of the DNA, but then it's really expanded from that into other areas. And we're quite a lot larger than what we used to be, and we're 10 years in now. And the people involved in the business are great people to have alongside. And I think that's key for me as well. It's been a learning curve. It's all very well me being in the cockpit of a racing car, knowing what I need to do. That's not always transferable when you're in the world of commerce.
It's been quite difficult because obviously people knew you as a racing driver, and perhaps your more commercial ventures weren't as public as you being sat in the cockpit. Has it been quite difficult to get people to change their perception, perhaps?
I think it's quite difficult at first to try and get people to understand that your sort of role in life has changed, and that actually you are challenging yourself and also looking to do something where it's beneficial to them on the other side, outside of what they do know you for, which would have been exactly that, what you say, as a motor racing driver. So there is an element of that, and I think it was probably more earlier days than latter, because it was a while back now. So you're trying to use your network that you've built up in your career. This is how I did my situation with Sports Network, which at my level was fortunate to have a lot of big commercial contacts, even on a global scale, and then re-enter their world with this is me, this is my proposition, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, right. And sometimes you'd get a yes, great, but not really where you're at the moment, so go away when you got sort of successful at business. Or some people would be we're going to embrace you, we know what you were all about when you were doing what you were doing, and we hope that you can carry on that journey in a different guise, and we'd like to be a part of the journey. So it's not been easy, but at the same time I think some of that is more driven off the back of personal confidence. And I say that respectfully, that my confidence levels would be sky high behind the wheel of a race car, not necessarily sky high walking into a boardroom and being confronted by a CEO, a chairman, a CFO. So, that's kind of that's a learning curve. It's a whole sort of different set of skill sets in a way, but in many ways, actually, there's quite a lot of parallels.
How did you overcome that confidence? Because you know what you're doing behind the wheel of a car, got amazing form, people know who you are for that skill, and then you go into an environment that's very, very foreign. And as you said, you had, your self-confidence perhaps wasn't as high as it would be. How did you manage that? Because that can be a real block for people in terms of they think, you know what, I cannot do that. And that can be where their journey ends. Obviously, that hasn't been the case with you. So how did you do that?
You know what? I think more than anything, I would sort of go back to the motor racing side and go, at the end of the day, you're driven off the back of results. You're driven off of delivery. And for me, every time I went into the world of commerce, it was kind of based on the same thing. The objective was the same. This has to be results driven. It has to be where I deliver. And if I put something together, I need to make sure that the end result is exactly that, and then someone can look at that and go, okay, they did what they said they were going to do. They've actually done it well. Maybe there's more to this than meets the eye, and we can continue. And that really has been the sort of like crux of what we're all about as an agency today, because we're a lot more rounded than what we were 10 years ago in its current guise. And from that, we've pretty much driven some relationships now into the sort of 10, 11 year area, which for business in our kind of world, our sector is quite long. They're quite long relationships. And still relationships with the driver side, for example, with myself in terms of management. We're now into, I think, year 19 with 2 of our drivers and year 12 with another. So in the world of sport, that's an incredible long time. It's a really huge amount of time to be sort of connected together in a talent management role. So we're quite proud of that. But yeah, I think also it's like when you're in business, I'm quite straightforward because that's the way that life was for me on the track. There isn't any gray, it's black and white. You either go into the corner and come out the other end, or you make a move on somebody and pass them, or you don't. There isn't any sort of fluffy stuff. So for me, business is the same. If you're transparent and you're honest in the way that you approach things, and it has to be beneficial for both sides. That's the best deal for me. If both parties are happy, and that's a continuance of those relationships that then prosper, then there shouldn't be any reason why you can't go and do what you want to do. Providing it's a sector that is agreeable to that. But there's certain times when things don't go according to plan, and that's life. But if you've given it your best and you've done your preparation, whether that was sport or business, your odds are a lot higher.
So going back slightly for when you first went into those meetings and you didn't have, because now you can go in and say, well, actually, we've worked with these amazing people. This is the form we've got. This is what we've done. So actually, I think that really helps one's self-confidence, doesn't it? You've got the results. But when you were just at that start and you didn't have the results, how did you kind of overcome that to go in there and give them your best shot?
I'd like to say expertise and understanding what I was actually doing at the time, but that would be an actual white lie. I think at the end of it, it's like just selling yourself. And although inner confidence may well not have been at the levels that I would have liked them to be, my outer confidence in what I was showing the rest of the group per se at that point, I think would have been, okay, we get it. We understand your passion, your enthusiasm. We can see what you're trying to achieve. And, I'm not, and my chairman will testify to this as well. Like, I'm not the biggest guy on numbers. That's not really where I'm at. I'm more of a vision conceptual guy, and saying that I'm also quite picky on attention to detail, because the attention to detail for me makes the difference in anything. So those are the kind of things that were the focal point for me when I was trying to sort of get in the door somewhere. And ultimately, the biggest thing for myself and the business today is relationships. Our whole business is relationship led and built off of that foundation. And for me, I'm probably one of those guys that would, the term networking, yeah, I do a lot of it, but that's because at this stage in my life, I've got to be quite good at it. But at the same point, I'm at the point of like, right, I can see what I need to do. Because for me, I look at it like dots. It's like, they're all there. Let me like join them up.
Yeah.
And part of our business is exactly that. We've probably got 32 corporate clients,
Wow.
and we are dot joining with them week in, week out. Can we put these guys together here? Can we put them in a situation where maybe they already know each other, but let's enhance that relationship? Can we develop new business? Can we enhance original business? Can we collaborate? And we're the kind of the glue for that journey. And that's really what it's all about. It's just trying to say, right, there's the proposition. How do I go about doing something with it? What's beneficial for us as a business?
So it's really, would you say, focusing on your personal strengths, not trying to be great at numbers if you're not, but really focusing on what you are good at and what you can bring to the party, because that does help you to feel more like you're in control of the situation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say 100%. But I think also for me, and especially as you go through life as well, and you get a bit older, you then learn your strengths and weaknesses. So I know to a degree where my strengths are, and I pretty much know a lot more than just to a degree where my weaknesses are. And I think for me as well, it's about surrounding yourself with, for me, better people than myself, because, I'm only as good as a team built around me. And again, I relate that back to what I was doing going around in circles. If I had great engineers, great designers, great engines, great chassis performance, I was one part of that little environment. And if it all came together, you got results. And business is no different. So, I'm lucky I've got a great board of directors who I can lean on and absorb from their side and get advice, but sometimes get, hey, by the way, like, this isn't right, and you need to understand it, because you never stop learning. Every day's a school day. And also people in the agency as well, from whether it's Joe who sits close to me and looks after me, whether it's our operations director who's looking after day-to-day functions of the agency, or our events people out in the field. You've got to make sure that you're giving them enough rein, but that also you're giving them enough direction, but they're also in a situation where they are delivering on the DNA of the business and ultimately, what I stand for. And I think that's quite important for people in business. It's like, okay, if you're churning out widgets and it's like a day in, day out function, I get that. But if you're in a business where people are looking for depth and trust and delivery, I think that goes back to the people who are running it. I think that's a true reflection on them.
I think sometimes for small businesses as well, they might not be able to have a team, but it's still the people that you surround yourself with, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that goes to, do you have a good accountant? Do you have a good law firm? Do you sometimes invest a little bit more to get some advice back, and also look to invest a bit of time in areas where, okay, ultimately you might not get return in 24 hours, but you might get it in 24 months.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's something also that people sometimes are a little bit short-sighted. They want an instant return. I wish life and business was like that, but fundamentally it's not. If we could swipe the phone left and get a profit the next day, fantastic. Yeah. It might happen in some worlds, in the world of crypto or whatever, but if everyone's got enough time to be spending doing that every day, then lucky them. But for me, I think it's a case of, put something in play where you're going to look towards a relationship being long-term, make something happen that when the times get tough, and we've just been through those times, we've been through COVID, at that stage, even for us as a small business, we lent so heavily on our relationships and vice versa in terms of what we gave back to support. And actually, even through that, we still came out with more profit than the previous year. So, that was, for us was a real sort of, okay, that's a true reflection on where we stand today as a business, but actually where we stand today with all of our clients and our partners, because it shows depth and breadth.
And as you say, that is relationships, which again, if we're thinking about any business, that doesn't cost anything to make those relationships and maintain them. It costs time, but you don't necessarily have to be throwing money at the situation to have those really good connections, do you?
That's 100% correct. No different to please and thank you. It costs nothing, but it goes a long way. And, for me, that's a real, key area what does it cost you just to come to the end of a process? And even if you don't get a deal done, just go, you know what, thank you very much. It's great dealing with you. Sorry we didn't get together. Maybe we can revisit in 12 months' time. At least the door's still open. You haven't closed it. And people are people. They're human. They're emotional. They remember things, and they're the things that you need to try and build on. And especially when times get tough, because they're exactly the things that go back to ground zero. We all interact with each other. If you've got a relationship with someone that you can lean on, then do it. We all need each other at some point.
I have to say, I came to Theo Pafitas's Small Business Sunday, and you spoke. That's how I've been stalking you ever since. I'm not outside your building. I'm in my own one. And I absolutely loved your talk with Theo. And what really struck me was the connection that you two had. I appreciate he's on your board, isn't he?
So Theo's our chairman.
But it's more than just that working relationship. There's a lot more there.
Yeah, I think, listen, I mean, we are quite unique in our relationship, because we actually have a very close friendship, and we have a very close business relationship as well. And sometimes friendship and business don't always work, but we are, and Theo is very, very good at this as well. We're very disciplined in our approach. This is business, this is friendship, this is playtime, this is business time, and we make sure that we keep it aligned. Of course, there's some overlaps at times, and that's probably what you recognize on the stage with the energy between us, because we know each other very well, but we're also incredibly supportive. I mean, I have a huge amount of admiration for him because of what he's achieved, and I have a huge amount of admiration in terms of what he supports us with in our business, because we are a small business. We're never going to change his life. He's a successful businessman in his own right, and our small business is not going to be a differential to him tomorrow when he wakes up. But it isn't about that. It's about us delivering day in, day out, and him being proud to have his name associated with it, and equity, because he's an equity partner with us. But knowing that he doesn't have to keep looking over his shoulder to make sure that we're doing something that isn't right. And I think that's also a big thing for me. It's about, right, the people that are with us, are hugely vested in the business. And myself and Theo, in many ways, we've got similarities. We're both dyslexic. I come from, not a single exam to my name, education-wise. Not that I'm proud of that, but that's just the way it is. But I did my apprenticeship going around in circles, and he did his apprenticeship building up a boardroom. And there's skill sets for both, but at times they kind of overlap. And many times I'm still the pupil, and he's the teacher. So that's fine. And there's also times when things go according to the plan, and actually, like, Theo is the first one to turn around and go, well done, great, fantastic. So that's nice. It's nice to get a pat on the back now and again. Definitely. Sometimes when you're leading a business, it doesn't always happen.
Completely. If you were giving any advice to people who are either starting on their small business journey, or they have these goals they want to achieve, but they just don't know how to get there, they're feeling all sorts of things, like maybe a lack of self-confidence, or a lack of resources, a lack of training, is there any advice that you'd give them that would hopefully help them along the way?
I mean, honestly, I would just say, get up in the morning and believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe in you. And it just reflects. If you walk into the environment and you're just not confident with yourself, for sure you got nerves. For sure, like I said, early days, I lacked a little bit of confidence inner, but I never wanted to show that outer. And again, I reflect that to sport. If I showed any weakness on track, I'd be finished. Yeah. So it's okay to foul. It's not a problem. Not every deal is going to work. Not everything's going to go according to plan. But if you can learn from that, and you can keep putting that in your locker, you'll come out the other end stronger for it. But I would also say, like, just put your head up now and again and look around who's around. Because there's some great people with some great knowledge and some time that they're quite happy to give if you just ask. It costs nothing to ask someone. They can only say no. but maybe they'll say yes. And you know what? Human nature is 9 times out of 10, they will say yes.
Yeah.
You know, we're big believers in youth and are big believers in people coming and saying, okay, no problem. You're in our sector. Maybe you can't afford our services at the moment, but listen, come and have an hour with us. Just, glean some information. And I really hope it gives you some support in the next part of your journey. You know, what's an hour out of my life to give someone a bit of support and a bit of help? And maybe it comes full circle and they're knocking on our door in 2 years' time. Yeah, doesn't always work because you're busy, but at the same time, there's nothing to stop trying to put that together. So just, know what you're on about first and foremost, because I think that's something that people sometimes get a little bit concerned with. If you don't quite know your eggs, make sure you do, because, lots of people, when they're in busy situations, if you don't click and don't get them to bite, you're going to lose their attention, really quickly. And normally there's only one bite of the cherry. You're lucky if you get two.
Is there anything else you would like to add before I let you go? Because I'm very aware that you're a very busy person and I'm incredibly grateful for your time.
No, I don't think so. I think, at the end of it, I said, hopefully for you with your journey, and you're doing the book, which is fantastic. And, I can't wait to read and see what's in there. And for me, hope that there's things in there that I can learn from, because at the end of the day, I think that's something that people just have to do every day. Wake up and go out with the approach that, let's see what I can learn today. And the other thing I would just say is, and Joe, as I say, is sitting next to me, and there isn't probably a day that goes by that at some point we don't have a bit of a laugh, a bit of humor, just to break the day up. And I think it helps to smile, and sometimes just puts, if things are not going quite according to plan, don't get too down about it. Yeah, life's life. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And almost it's important to be serious about business, but actually some of the funny things that happen, it is good. It is good to have a laugh about, because that is, as you say, that is life, isn't it?
It is. And, yes, business is serious, but, I think life is more serious, and, health is definitely before wealth. And at the end of all of it, let's just try and make sure that, every day is a good day. And for sure, we all know bad days are coming, but let's see if we can lighten them in any which way we can.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. To find out more about Mark, go to markblundell.com, or you can find him on Instagram at mark_blundell_F1. And to find out more about MBP, go to wearembp.com, or you can find them on Instagram at wearembp. Thanks so much. Make sure you've got your book. If not, you can find it online or in any good bookshop. Take care and see you next week.